Welcome back. Today we're putting Indus Towers Limited under the microscope. They just released their Q4 and full year numbers for FY25. Indus Towers, for our listeners, is India's big player in passive telecom infrastructure, essentially owning and managing the towers that mobile operators use.
That's right. They are a critical part of India's telecom backbone with a massive portfolio. Think hundreds of thousands of towers across all 22 telecom circles. They became a subsidiary of Bharti Airtel effective November 19, 2024, which is also a key development we should touch upon.
Absolutely. So let's dive into the latest numbers. These are the audited, consolidated, and standalone financial results for the fourth quarter and the full financial year ended March 31, 2025. The board approved these on April 30, 2025. What's the headline story? Let's start with the consolidated picture for Q4.
Okay, starting with the consolidated results for the fourth quarter ended March 31, 2025. Revenue from operations came in at 7,727 crore rupees. Comparing that year over year, it's up 7.4% from 7,193 crore rupees in Q4 FY24.
A solid 7.4% growth year over year. How does that compare to the immediately preceding quarter, Q3 FY25?
Sequentially, quarter-over-quarter revenue is up 2.4% from 7,547 crore rupees in Q3 FY25. So, steady growth both year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter on the top line.
Got it. Now what about profitability? Let's look at EBITDA. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization.
Right. For Q4 FY25, the consolidated EBITDA, excluding other income, stood at 4,395 crore rupees. That's a healthy 7.1% increase year-over-year compared to 4,103 crore rupees in Q4 FY24. The EBITDA margin for the quarter was 56.9%, quite stable compared to 57.0% last year.
Okay, 7.1% year-over-year EBITDA growth. But what about the quarter-over-quarter comparison? How does Q4 EBITDA stack up against Q3?
The quarter-over-quarter comparison needs some context. EBITDA in Q4 was 4,395 crore rupees, which is significantly lower than the 6,997 crore rupees reported in Q3 FY25. This looks like a sharp drop, but it's mainly because Q3 had a large one-off benefit. The company had a favorable ruling related to CENVAT credit and goods and services tax on towers, resulting in a reversal of depreciation and recognition of input tax credit assets, boosting Q3's numbers substantially. So that high Q3 EBITDA wasn't purely operational.
Okay, that's a crucial clarification. So excluding that one-off benefit in Q3, the underlying operational performance in Q4 looks more consistent. Let's move down the P&L to profit before tax or PBT.
Consolidated profit before tax for Q4 FY25 was 2,363 crore rupees. Interestingly, this is actually down 5.1% year-over-year from 2,489 crore rupees in Q4 FY24.
Down 5% year-over-year on PBT, despite revenue and EBITDA growing? What might be driving that? Maybe higher finance costs or depreciation?
Likely a combination. We did see depreciation tick up, partly due to the asset acquisition from Bharti Airtel, which we'll discuss later. Finance cost net were also considerably higher year-over-year in the quarter. Now looking quarter-over-quarter, PBT was 2,363 crore rupees compared to 5,219 crore rupees in Q3. Again, that Q3 number was inflated by the CENVAT goods and services tax benefit.
And the bottom line, profit after tax or PAT.
Consolidated profit after tax for Q4 FY25 came in at 1,779 crore rupees. Similar to PBT, this was down 4.0% year-over-year from 1,853 crore rupees in Q4 FY24. Sequentially, quarter-over-quarter PAT was down from 4,003 crore rupees in the exceptionally high Q3.
And earnings per share EPS?
Consolidated basic and diluted EPS for Q4 FY25 was 6.75 rupees. This is slightly down from 6.88 rupees in Q4 FY24. Quarter over quarter, it's down from the 15.18 or 15.17 rupees in Q3, again due to that quarter's one-off boost.
Okay, so for the quarter, Solid revenue growth year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter. Underlying EBITDA growth seems steady year-over-year, but PBT and PAT are slightly down year-over-year, likely due to higher finance and depreciation costs, while quarter-over-quarter comparisons for profits are skewed by Q3's one-off gain. Now, what about the full financial year FY25 compared to FY24?
Looking at the full year FY25 consolidated results, the picture is quite strong. Revenue from operations grew 5.3% to 30,123 crore rupees from 28,601 crore rupees in FY24.
And profitability for the full year?
Very strong improvement year-over-year. EBITDA for FY25 jumped 41.9% to 20,845 crore rupees, compared to 14,694 crore rupees in FY24. The full-year EBITDA margin improved significantly to 69.2% from 51.4% last year.
Wow, a 41.9% jump in annual EBITDA is significant. What drove that?
A major factor was the significant reduction in allowances for doubtful receivables compared to the previous year. Remember the challenges with collections from one major customer in FY24? Those provisions were much lower in FY25, plus there was a write-back in Q4 FY25 due to collections. This combined with revenue growth really boosted the annual EBITDA.
Makes sense. And profit before and after tax for the full year?
Also showing strong growth. PBT for FY25 was up 61.9% year-over-year to 13,154 crore rupees. PAT grew even faster, up 64.5% year-over-year to 9,932 crore rupees from 6,036 crore rupees in FY24. Full-year PAT margin improved to 33.0% from 21.1%.
Yes. And the annual EPS reflects this?
Yes. Basic and diluted EPS for FY25 stood at 37.31 rupees, a strong 67% increase from 22.40 rupees in FY24.
Okay, that's a clear picture for the consolidated results. What about the standalone results? Any significant differences compared to the consolidated picture for the quarter or the year?
Interestingly, the standalone P&L figures for both the quarter and the full year are almost identical to the consolidated ones we just discussed. Revenue, PBT, PAT, EPS, they track very closely. For instance, standalone PAT for Q4 FY25 was 1,777 crore rupees versus 1,779 crore rupees consolidated. For the full year, standalone PAT was 9,922 crore rupees versus 9,932 crore rupees consolidated. This suggests the main operations are within the parent company, and the subsidiaries like SmartX Services and the Employee Welfare Trust have a minimal impact on the overall profit and loss statement.
Good to know. Any significant other income we should be aware of?
Other income for Q4 FY25 was 92 crore rupees, down a bit year-over-year from 109 crore rupees, but up quarter-over-quarter from 84 crore rupees. For the full year, it was 346 crore rupees, slightly lower than the 361 crore rupees in FY24. Not a major driver compared to operating revenue.
We touched on exceptional items, or rather the lack of them being explicitly listed. But you mentioned the Senvat goods and services tax impact in Q3 and a provision write-back in Q4. Can you elaborate on that write-back?
Yes, the press release specifically mentions that Q4 FY25 included a write-back of 226 crore rupees in the provision for doubtful receivables. This was aided by collections against past overdue amounts, likely from Vodafone Idea, given the context from previous reports. This write-back would have positively impacted the Q4 profitability figures we discussed.
Okay. Shifting gears to the balance sheet, how is the company's financial health looking in terms of debt and equity? Let's stick with the consolidated view.
The consolidated balance sheet shows improvement. As of March 31, 2025, shareholders' equity stands at 32,498 crore rupees, up from 27,039 crore rupees a year ago, primarily due to retained earnings, though slightly offset by a share buyback completed during the year. On the debt side, there's been a good reduction. Net debt including lease liabilities decreased to 18,020 crore rupees from 20,468 crore rupees year-over-year.
And excluding lease liabilities? That often gives a clearer picture of financial debt.
Excluding lease liabilities, the picture is even better. Indus Towers actually moved to a net cash position of 873 crore rupees as of March 31st, 2025, compared to a net debt position of 4,249 crore rupees a year ago. That's a significant positive swing, showing strong cash generation and potentially debt repayment.
That's a remarkable improvement on the debt front. How about cash flows? Any highlights from the consolidated cash flow statement?
Yes, the cash flow performance for FY25 was very strong compared to FY24. Operating free cash flow for the year jumped to 10,428 crore rupees from just 1,823 crore rupees last year. Adjusted funds from operations, or AFFO, also grew strongly to 15,910 crore rupees from 10,291 crore rupees. Free cash flow saw a massive improvement, reaching 9,849 crore rupees compared to only 182 crore rupees in FY24.
What about investments or capex?
Consolidated capex for FY25 was 6,870 crore rupees, which is notably lower than the 9,698 crore rupees spent in FY24. It's important to note this FY25 capex figure excludes the value of the passive infrastructure assets acquired from Bharti Airtel, as that was handled as a common control transaction, not typical capital expenditure.
Any news on dividends for shareholders?
No dividend was declared alongside these results. However, the company did announce in a separate filing that the board has decided to constitute a committee to comprehensively evaluate options for enhancing shareholder returns, including possibilities like a buyback, bonus shares, or dividends. So something might be on the horizon, but no decision yet.
Let's talk operations. How did the tower and co-location base change?
Significant growth, boosted by the acquisition. As of March 31st, 2025, the total macro tower base stood at 249,305. That's an increase of 29,569 towers year-over-year. Quarter-over-quarter, the net addition was 14,662 towers. But remember, this includes 10,380 towers acquired from Bharti Airtel in late March.
And co-locations? How many tenants per tower?
Macro co-locations reached 405,435, up 36,847 year-over-year. The quarter-over-quarter net addition was 18,616. However, the closing sharing factor, which is the average number of tenants per tower, slightly decreased to 1.63 from 1.68 a year ago and 1.65 in the previous quarter.
A declining sharing factor is usually something to watch. Any insights into the lean co-locations?
Lean co-locations also grew, reaching 13,878, up 3,192 year-over-year. The net addition in Q4 was 2,386, which includes 2,226 acquired from Bharti.
How are the revenue metrics per tower or per operator looking?
For macro towers, the sharing revenue per tower per month in Q4 was 68,582 rupees. That's down 2.1% year-over-year, but up slightly, 0.3% quarter-over-quarter. However, sharing revenue per sharing operator per month was 41,893 rupees, which is up 1.1% both year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter. For lean sites, the revenue per sharing operator per month was 15,239 rupees, up 3.0% year-over-year, but down 7.2% quarter-over-quarter.
So mixed trends there. Revenue per tower down year-over-year but up quarter-over-quarter, while revenue per operator is up year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter for macro. Lean is up year-over-year but down quarter-over-quarter. Let's discuss that major event, the acquisition of passive infrastructure from Bharti Airtel. Can you summarize the key details and accounting impact?
Sure. This was a significant move. Indus acquired the passive infrastructure business from its holding company, Bharti Airtel, via a slump sale completed on March 24, 2025. Because Bharti Airtel gained control of Indus Towers back in November 2024, this is treated as a common control transaction under Ind AS 103. This means the assets and liabilities acquired are recorded at their carrying amounts as they appeared in Bharti's books, not at fair value.
And what was the financial impact recorded in Q4?
The acquisition added 10,380 macro towers and 2,226 lean co-locations. The estimated purchase consideration is 1,982 crore rupees, though this is provisional and subject to final site count adjustments. The carrying value of the net assets acquired was only 177 crore rupees. The large difference, 1,805 crore rupees, is booked directly to a common control reserve under equity, not as goodwill. The company paid 1,829 crore rupees and put another 203 crore rupees in escrow. Importantly, because it's a common control transaction, Indus Towers is required to restate its financials as if the acquisition happened on the date common control was established, which was November 19, 2024. However, they noted the impact between November 19th and December 31st was not material, so they haven't restated Q3. But the Q4 results we discussed do include an accounting impact of 183 crore rupees for operating expenses and depreciation related to these acquired assets from November 19th to March 31st.
That's complex but important context for the Q4 numbers. Any other significant updates, maybe on the customer front?
Yes, the management discussion section highlights a few things. Vodafone Idea completed its equity conversion, resulting in the Government of India holding about 49%. This provides some stability, and Indus noted collections on past dues from a major customer, leading to that provision write back. Also, Bharti Airtel continued its spectrum liability prepayments. And interestingly, both Airtel and Jio announced partnerships with SpaceX to bring Starlink satellite internet services to India, which could potentially involve utilizing Indus's ground infrastructure down the line.
Now, a critical check, the auditor's report. What did Deloitte Haskins and Sells have to say about both the consolidated and standalone results? Any qualifications or red flags?
Good news on this front. The company provided a declaration from the CFO, and the auditor reports included in the filings confirmed that Deloitte issued an unmodified opinion on both the consolidated and the standalone financial results for the quarter and year ended March 31, 2025. This means the auditors found the financial statements give a true and fair view and are free from material misstatement prepared in accordance with Ind AS. There were no qualifications, adverse opinions, or disclaimers mentioned in the reports attached to the main results filing.
Excellent. A clean audit opinion is always reassuring. So, putting it all together, what's the outlook for Indus Towers?
The outlook seems broadly positive, but with factors to monitor. Disclaimer: as always, investors should consult certified experts before making investment decisions. On the plus side, Indus Towers showed strong operational performance in FY25, significant profitability improvement, robust cash flow generation leading to a net cash position excluding leases, and successful integration of the acquired Bharti assets boosting their scale. The 5G rollout continues to be a tailwind, driving demand for tower tenancies. The formation of a committee to explore shareholder returns is also a positive signal.
And the potential risks or challenges?
The key monitorable remains customer concentration. Although the VIL equity conversion helps, the slight decline in the sharing factor needs watching. Ideally, they want more tenants per tower. Integrating the acquired assets smoothly and realizing synergies is ongoing. Energy costs, while managed, are always a factor in this industry. And the overall health and spending patterns of the major telecom operators will continue to dictate demand.
So, to summarize, a strong FY25 for Indus Towers with significant growth in profits and cash flows, driven by tower additions and improved collections, lower provisions. Q4 showed continued revenue growth but slightly lower profits year-over-year due to costs, while quarter-over-quarter comparisons were affected by one-offs and the acquisition. The balance sheet strengthened considerably, moving to net cash ex leases. The large Bharti asset acquisition boosts scale, but requires careful integration and impacts near-term financials. The auditor provided a clean opinion, which is a definite positive.
Exactly. Operationally strong, financially healthier, integrating a major acquisition, and operating under the umbrella of Bharti Airtel, with potential shareholder returns being evaluated. Definitely a company keeping things interesting in the telecom infra space.
Great analysis. Thanks for breaking down those complex results for us. That's all the time we have for today. Join us next time as we unpack more earnings reports.